Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. November 1982. The 12th of November, 1982. The second day I wake up in New York City. And the first day I'm going to take a shower in my brand new bathroom in my brand new apartment. Yes, new to me. And so I'm getting ready to go in there, and one of my roommates says, "Oh, careful, the water runs a little bit cool." And I'm like, "Thanks for the warning." So I go in there, and I'm like, "Oh, in the bathroom. It's so interesting. It's tiny. It's a little tiny bathroom. But the mirror is this beautiful piece of beveled glass that is slightly tinted blue. Yeah, and so you couldn't actually tell what you looked like in your own bathroom mirror because you looked a little blue." And I'm like, this is an unusual choice for a bathroom mirror. All right. So I go to the shower. And I say, I'm not even going to mess with the cold water. I'm just going to go straight to the hot alone. See how it goes. I put on the hot alone. It's running a little cool. All right. As a matter of fact, it's running a little cold. I'm like, well, this doesn't seem right, but okay. And so I get in there, and it's freezing. And I'm like, well, this might as well happen. Welcome to New York. Take a bracing, freezing shower. Wake up. Look around. It's New York. So I take this freezing shower, and I take these freezing showers for the first week or a week and a half that I'm living on Steinway Street there with my 3 roommates. And after this brief span of time, we're sitting around, and I happen to mention, I say, I think it's ultimately good for you for your constitution to be taking freezing showers. And they're like, what do you mean taking freezing showers? I'm like, well, I'm taking freezing showers. They're like, you're taking freezing showers? Why? I said, well, it's good for your constitution. It's good for your circulation. So they're saying, so you're taking freezing showers? I'm like, they're like, and why though? Because of your constitution? And I'm like, no, because the water is freezing. And they're like, unless you turn on the hot. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, you know that the C is actually the hot and the H is actually the cold. The taps are reversed. You know that, don't you? And I'm like, well, I do now. And that was the end of the freezing showers in New York. Yes. However, I have to tell you, ever since then, to this day, I still do it when I take a shower. For the last 30 seconds of the shower, you turn off the hot water entirely and let the cold water rush over you. You let it get all in your head, in your hair, all over your face and your front, get it all over your back so your whole body is covered with the freezing water. And here, this is why it's great. In the summertime, it's great because if it's hot, you've just drenched yourself with freezing water, so you're nice and cool. Beautiful. And in the winter, it's good in the winter too because because the house is a little bit chilly in the winter because it's winter. And when you step out of the shower, it's always a blast of cold air. And in the winter, after you've drenched yourself with freezing water, that blast of cold air seems warm compared to what you just experienced. It's great. I recommend it. It's bracing.
And it's good for your circulation.
Anyhow, after all that business was over, I had been going into New York city, into the city, my 10-minute walk and my 20 or so minute, 30 or so minute subway ride on the double R into town. Every day, I was going in every day just to get lost. And I think you have to get lost in a city to get to know it. So I would just walk around blindly, and I just roam around, and where the hell am I? You know? And I got genuinely lost a couple of times. I never got into any scrapes, but, and I had my subway map with me, which I was afraid to take out and look at. Because, you know, you're just asking for, you got a target on your head. So I went into a phone booth. I was down by Wall Street. Oh, Wall Street is completely different because it's bendy and turny and twisty and windy and wavy streets. It's not a grid like the rest of Manhattan is. So much of Manhattan is a grid. It's easy to find where you are. You want to find 33rd Street, you're on 17th Street, you go north, you go that way. It's pretty easy, except when you're down in the West Village and down by Wall Street where it's very twisty and turvy. And I went into a phone booth. How many of you remember phone booths, the kind of booth that was a booth that you go into and shut the door? Yes. Anyhow, I got out my map and I looked, oh, here we are. I see where we are. That means I gotta go that way. And I got out of that little jam. I went over to 42nd Street and 42nd Street in 1982. What a world, what a world. It was the gamiest, grungiest, grimiest, filthiest place in Manhattan, 42nd Street especially. It was very threatening. It was. There were threatening drug dealers and threatening prostitutes and threatening pimps. Every third store was a peep show. Every third store was a dirty bookstore. And every third store was a whatnot shop where they sold I Heart NY ashtrays and little statues of liberty that were pencil sharpeners. Capitalism at its grungiest. Hey, hey! Yes. And not to mention the denizens of Times Square and 42nd Street. There were terrifying prostitutes and twice as terrifying pimps. And these drug dealers were actually sort of indifferent. They'd walk around just saying, smoke, smoke, smoke. Sense. They were selling Sensimilla, which was fancy stuff, which was new back then. Yes. Smoke, smoke. So if you wanted some product, that was where you made your negotiation with one of those good people. Yes. Every time I left Times Square, every time I took a walk down 42nd Street, I felt like I needed to scrape my skin and bathe and then get all my clothes dry cleaned. It was that unpleasant of a place, yes. Anyhow, I'm roaming around. I go up to see Carnegie Hall, and I'm walking down 57th Street, and I come across the Russian Tea Room. And I'm like, well, this is another landmark. I've heard of the Russian Tea Room. I didn't exactly know what it looked like, but I had seen it in movies, and I really would like to go in there. Yes, but I bet it's very expensive. I have the feeling. But I'm walking down 57th. I'm coming up on the Russian Tea Room, and a man walks out of the Russian Tea Room under the awning. And dear listeners, it's Alan King. Yes, Alan King was famous in the 1950s. He was more for my parents' generation than mine, actually. I had an idea who he was because I had seen him on the Johnny Carson show. He was a stand-up comedian, a tuxedoed, borscht belt, Catskill Mountain stand-up comedian back in the early 50s, and he became wildly famous for a while. Became a television star, Alan King. He was very big in the comedy world. He was. And there he is, coming out of the Russian tea room. I'm walking up on him, and I'm going, is it really you? And just as I think that, some other person comes out of the Russian tea room and looks at him and says, "Ah, you look terrific, Alan." And as I'm walking by them, he says, "Thank you." And I see his face, and I say, "Aha, it really is you." Not out loud, don't worry. And I kept on walking, and I'm like, well, there was my first celebrity sighting. That's what it was, just a sighting. But there it was, a very famous person, a celebrity, and me just walking by, and it was my very first. My very first. And you know what they say about that. I have to digress here for a little bit to tell you about my very first big celebrity encounter. It's August 1978. It's the 70s, baby. Yes, it is. And I am at Peaches Record Store. Peaches, you remember Peaches? Yeah, it was around for a few years. Hey, if you remember Peaches, comment. If you remember Peaches, like. If you remember Peaches, share this out to somebody else who might remember Peaches. I would really appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you. So I'm going into Peaches with the specific intent of picking up a copy of Pictures at an Exhibition by Modest Mussorgsky. Favorite piece of music of mine that I don't actually own a copy of. I hear it on the radio and I always love it, and I want to get a copy. So I go to Peaches and I'm leafing through the classical music stacks. All right. So I look up and a coworker of mine happens to walk up to me, and he's like, "Hey!" And I'm like, "Hey!" I say, "It's obviously Peaches is the place where the elite meet." It's my friend and coworker, Ken. We work at the city of Dearborn together. We work at Osborne Center. We are stage hands, which means you build the sets and paint the sets and move the sets and do all sorts of physical manual labor. It was a lot of hard work, but it was working in theater and getting paid to do it. It was fabulous. So he turns to me and he says, "So you're here to see her?" And I go, "See who?" And he goes, "Carol Channing. She's coming here at 3 o'clock to sign autographs." And I'm like, "Whoa, really? Carol Channing? What time is it now?" He says, "It's 2:45. And I'm like, "Whoa, well, I'm going to hang around and see what happens." And so he went off. He says, "I'm going to buy a copy of Sugar, and I'm going to have her sign it." And I'm like, "I'm not buying anything from Carol, from Carol Channing." "I'm not buying anything from Carol Channing. I'm looking for Modest Mussorgsky." So he rolls his eyes and he goes off to find his copy of Sugar because he was going to buy that. All right. So at 3 o'clock, who should breeze in but Carol Channing with an entourage. They had a little area set up for her with a little table, a nice little folding chair for her to sit down and sign autographs and meet with the fans. So there was a group of Carol Channing devotees all crunched around, and there was this line up to the table, and I'm like, well, and I find a copy of Pictures at an Exhibition by Modest Mussorgsky, solo piano version played by Vladimir Horowitz. And I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Because Mussorgsky wrote Pictures at an Exhibition. Initially, he wrote it as a solo piano version when he wrote it in 1874. It's the 1870s, baby, yes. So he initially wrote it as a solo piano version, and here I have Vladimir Horowitz playing it. And this is the copy that I'm going to take with me. I'm very happy with it. I look up at the line. It's a little bit smaller. Some people have already left. And Ken is last in line. I go, well, this is perfect. I'll just go up behind him. I'm going to ask Carol Channing if she will sign this copy of Modest Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition with Vladimir Horowitz playing solo piano. We'll see how it goes. So I go up in line. He's got his copy of Sugar. And he says, did you get a copy of Sugar? You get a copy of Hello, Dolly? No, I did not. Now, Carol Channing was in Sugar down at the Fisher Theater, downtown Detroit. That's why she was here in Dearborn. I'm going, oh, of course, that's why she's here. Right. So I said, no, I'm not going to buy a Carol Channing record. I'm gonna give her this Modest Mussorgsky Pictures at an Exhibition with Vladimir Horowitz playing the solo piano and ask her to sign that. And he was mortified. He says, I can't believe that you're gonna ask a big star like that to sign something that she doesn't have anything to do with. How could you do such a horrible thing? I go, it's not a horrible thing. I still appreciate her. I'm still sort of a fan. I'm still asking for her autograph. And she's super nice. If she doesn't want to sign it, at least she's going to be nice about it. So, next, it's his turn. He was surprisingly smooth and relaxed with Carol Channing. I was impressed. Good for him. Carol Channing is sparkling. She's just bubbly and friendly and so pretty. And very friendly, just lovely. So she signed his copy of Sugar, and then it's my turn. And I come up, I shake her hand. Miss Channing, it's an honor to meet you, I said. And I looked right at her, looked her dead in the eye, and lied to her. I said, Miss Channing, I already have a copy of Sugar at home. I already have a copy of Hello, Dolly at home. Could I ask you to sign this copy of Modest Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition with Vladimir Horowitz playing solo piano? Do you think you could sign this for me? And she said, well, of course I'll sign it. I'm like, the bigger they are, the nicer they are. So she signed it. Pictures at an Exhibition, Vladimir Horowitz solo piano. To Harry, XXX's Carol Channing. End of digression. Right. So next, my next big celebrity encounter was in Manhattan. Just a few days after I saw Alan King. It was Thanksgiving Day, 1982. And I had an intimate encounter with the biggest celebrity I've ever come in contact with. And actually one of the biggest celebrities in the world. Literally. And I'm going to tell you about that next time. I so look forward to sharing it with you.